Yeah, I'm happy to be with you to talk about today's topic about visualization. As I said, I'm a designer and we have a design office with the focus on explaining. And so visualization is part of our daily work, which does not mean that we have a routine in this. It's always a new problem, but a problem in the way people from math see it, not from math, from mathematics. So it's something that is very thrilling to be solved. So my recommendation is, if you think about visualizations, define your starting point. Look where you're standing at. So define your setting, what's your target group, and what media do you want to use? This is crucial. Next is know your toolbox. The tools you are working with is typography, colors, structural elements like shapes, patterns, icons, visuals. I will talk about this. Layouts and grids. This is very helpful for consistent spatial organization. And hierarchy techniques. We saw this in the posters we had a look at. So hierarchy would have been the key. There are several ways to provide this. White space. White space makes people happy. So this is really something so often forgotten. And we had this in 15, 20 years. We had one client who said this was an organization from China. And they said, no, we want more white space. So they asked us to provide more white space. The others, they write the text to the margin. And sometimes you have to cope, I think it's the English word, with corporate design guidelines. You have logo types, you have colors and things like this, because sometimes your work, your publications is funded. Okay, so starting with the visualization process. First thing is, before you invest too much time in thinking about how you communicate something in a visual way, you should be really clear about what to communicate. Because it's not getting clearer with the visualization if your message is not clear. So list your key points as bullet points or main clauses, identify what can be communicated by text, and highlight where visuals can support the message. Text is good, and good text is always better. So text is really often underestimated, but it always pays off, always. So structure your content into clear sections, use headlines, and use copy text. It's the headlines that start people reading the text, but it's the copy that keeps them reading, and it's the copy that conveys the message. So keep it concise and find an appropriate tone depending on your target group. Plan your visuals. There's a common saying, a picture is worth 1,000 words. I think this is not helpful because pictures and images are perceived in a different way than words. And sometimes they can't convey the same information, but they can complete each other. So first step I recommend is to be clear about the question, what is the purpose of your visual? We had this in the poster examples as well. This would have been a good question to work on the posters. So the purpose might be just to give eyes a break. And this is totally okay. If you have a lot of text, everybody is happy to have a pause, to see something else. But even the break can be connected to your content. This is the report about German forests. And the image we use is a cellular structure of a special wood. The visual can be a metaphor or allegory, and this might help to point out what the chapter is about. This is a report on digitization, and the metaphor is the so-called funding pot, and this highlights where funding would be recommended, so things flourish. The visual can illustrate statements from the text. This means the information is already in the text. Like, for example, in percent, 30, 20, but it's in numbers and letters. And so illustrating this content can be very helpful, because then you get another understanding for it, and you do remember it. And you can specify this pie chart if you combine it with figurative elements. This is a report and the about planetary health, and it's showing the planetary diet. Another situation is when the visual complements the text. That means you do not have the information in the text. You have some information, but you do not have all the information. And this is a very special text about bacteria in a special surrounding, and it's all clear, and it's in numbers, and it's in detailed words, but you do not get an understanding of how this test for coastlines works if you do not get the picture that shows it as a traffic light system that says red is dead, green is live, and there's some in between. So there the visual can be very helpful. And another situation, the visual does explain the text. You have all the information in the text, but you do not understand it. I mean, everybody had this situation when going to school. You read the things, you do not understand it. And then sometimes you start visualizing by yourself, you start scribbling, and you give things an order and hierarchy and things, and you explain it by your own. And this is what the visual does here. It says how the liver test works. You have all the text information, but the visual tells you the order of the steps to be applied. Another thing you will always have to deal with is data, because data gives evidence, and data normally is expressed in numbers. That might be totally okay, but it might be puzzling as well. So there are possibilities to present data in an appealing way and in a way you will remember it. This, I think this is a good example. This was a survey asking German companies, and it was just Excel and Word. And we got this, and we said, yeah, we can print this, but nobody will read it. And then they understood what we meant, and together we asked ourselves, how can we put a frame, a content frame to present what it's about, and how can we visualize so the things will be remembered. And part of the solution were the diagrams. You can see pie chart and a scatter plot, which is a special scatter plot with bubbles. Okay, typography. Part of your toolbox. I will not go into detail. I will not do a deep dive because it would be very time consuming, but it's worth having a look at typography. You may know we have the family sans serif and we have the family serif. Sans means there's something missing. Serif does have it. It's the small parts, it's the small elements on the lower part of the letter, like small feet. And they are very helpful for the eye because they help to recognize a letter and they help to build words from letters. They're kind of a glue to put words in your mind. So just a thumb rule, shout out in sans, read out in serif. This can be very helpful. So headlines can be catchy in sans, and for longer text, I would always recommend serif because this avoids fatigue. It's much more readable. Sans serif is helpful in tables, caption text, and footnotes, and there are a lot of other parameters that can be very helpful when you work with text. When you start, think international, because there may be the situation that your brochure will be translated, which is really cool. But then it might you may have the situation that you realize you do not have Cyrillic letters because you used a font that was on your computer, or you just liked it, or somebody recommended it, but it doesn't have the glyphs. Or you have to work with formula, and there the P is missing, or the Z to show isometric chemistry. So be sure that you have all the letters and the symbols. Colors. You should be aware that colors are always code. So if you use it for one thing, you should not use it for the contrary. Colors are very helpful, for example, to distinguish between positive and negative trends. I would recommend to define primary colors and secondary colors. And if you have the feeling, there's something missing, I need one more color, try if a halftone will do it. Technical thing, screen colors are not printing colors. Printing colors are not screen colors. This is another physical situation. The one is additive color mixing, the other is subtractive color mixing. So do not be disappointed when they do not match exactly. Okay, layout. In general, it means what goes where. And if you have single page media like a poster or a one-pager in web, I would really recommend to start with a scribble and draft before working things in detail. For multi-page media, I would recommend to work on a page plan that shows where images are placed, how much place you have to reserve from them. And this was for a brochure about biodiversity. Okay, now to the visual in specific. So basic shapes can be very helpful. People sometimes think that basic shapes are boring, but they are not. They can help you to tell a specific story. Like, for example, here, the hexagon is really helpful to tell a story about liver cells, because that's, in general, their outline. And this hexagon was really helpful to create a corporate design for all of this as well. And in some way, you have even if you do not have a corporate design from outside, maybe you want a corporate design for your own things, because you want to be that people remember your publications. So here the hexagon was really helpful. Another example, platonic solids, which means bodies that have the greatest possible symmetry because they are formed by equivalent elements. And for us, this was linked to the idea of Premiere, which is about multi-actor approach. And there, people on the same level come together to find new solutions. And also here, the basic shape was really helpful to come to the story, to come to the core of your message. Basic shapes, they are helpful to give your figurative elements a platform. So here, this is about the use of land and ocean and the colors code functions. But if you would not have the colors, they would just be in white space. Now to single elements, visual elements. And again here, if you start to create visual elements, start with scribbling, because that's the easiest way to come to your idea. And build on something. Feel free to use what the internet offers. There are tons of ready-mades, but invest time to find the good resources. So there is, for example, the Noun project, which offers a lot of icons, shapes, and things like this, and it offers this in vector form. You can download it. It's not expensive, but please know the copyrights. They are not expensive, but they have copyrights. Just have a look at the license. It's really easy to understand. If you work on these elements, be specific. Here, a thumb rule, maybe apples are not oranges. So common things should be similar as possible. Specific things should be different as possible. Like in this example, you have different house types because they have different effects on the heating system in communities. If you want to separate elements from each other, for example, because they mark something, the easiest way is to enclose them. Put them in a circle, put a circle below them. This separates them from each other. If you do not separate them, then you can create scenarios that start to interact in your mind and can tell a story. Even this is not moving images. You may have the situation that you say 2 dimensions is not enough. Okay, there's a possibility to expand dimensions, but only do it if it's helpful or if it's beyond reality. So wrap up, define setting and message, plan your visuals. Typography provides readability. Know your toolbox. Simple forms and elements can already help. Use ready-mades when helpful. Elaborate if something has to be specific. And feel free to scribble at all times. That's it from me, and I'm with you for questions.
Thank you so much, Max, for sharing your expertise. That was really great. Mind-blowing. Clap, clap. Yeah, does anybody have a burning question for Max now? Clarifications? All right. This is really great input for our
I will be
exercise.
with you for the next time as well. And if you have questions afterwards, just write me. I'm happy to answer.
Great. Could we refer to this presentation?
Could
you share this presentation?
Yes.
Later on? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will send you a PDF.
Yeah. Perfect. Okay.